Manisha, what is your area of work there?
My project is on signal processing for neurorehabilitation, meaning specifically it's EMG signal processing for stroke rehabilitation. So I told, right, there are two labs, two courses. The lab at IIT Madras, it's a neuroscience lab. They work on hand movements, how the finger forces are produced, how the thumb works, like that. So they work on hand movements. In CMC, it's a biorehab lab. So they work on mainly on rehabilitation. So my project is EMG is nothing but you have a lot of electrical signals in our body, like EEG, ECGs, right? So similarly, signal we call it as electromyogram or EMG. Generally, stroke patients, when the blood supply to your brain regions are hammered, it's not, there is no blood supply to a particular region. See, it works. There are different regions in your brain. I basically work on movement neuroscience. There are cognitive neuroscience and sensory systems are.
Okay.
To some extent, I learn about sensory system, but my main is in motor neuroscience. The motor cortex, okay, it has regions, different regions, and each regions are mapped onto different functions of the different body. I mean, body parts. Hand functions are represented in one region. It has a region like that. So if a blood supply to a particular region, if it is not there, you get the particular function. So
it will get paralyzed. Exactly.
Yeah, paralyzed. Okay. Yeah, you you will not be able to move your hand or etc. So so in the brain, we had neurons, right? Neurons are like nothing but cells in the brain. The neurons will have connections, wirings. How these connections are made and how these neurons fire, that is how your functioning differs or happens. So your brain, there are other part of the brain which will plan the movement, and that will be sent to your muscle, and that is how your movement occurs. So when the blood supply is not there, no, in that region, the wirings are lost. The neurons lose. It is in an inactive state. The connections are lost. Rehabilitation, what they do is, it is seen that when you do repeated movements, like if you keep fluxing, this is flexion extension, right? So if you keep, they will not be, stroke patients will not be able to do this movement. But if you train them to slowly start, they'll be moving this little bit like that. So if they repeatedly do this movement, it is seen that neurons in unaffected regions, right? They will and wire the neurons in the damaged regions. So by that, there's something called brain plasticity, which means the ability to change its structure and function. So when I said, when you move this repeated movements, that will, the neurons in the regions which are not damaged will go and connect to the neurons in the damaged region. So by this, you will regain your function. So that is a basic idea.
Normally, for paralyzed people, they do this physiotherapy and it works in the same.
Yeah, same way. So if you ask people, so it's very difficult for them to move, and if you ask them to do trials, no, they'll lose patience. They won't do trials. So for that, they have developed robots to help them, assist them in doing this repeated movements. Okay. And so that robots will help them to do these movements again and again. To add on to that, it is seen that when they are motivated to do that movements, no, their recovery is much better. So they do game development and all. Instead of just moving like this, they will do some games which makes them do this movement. Okay. When there is a movement intention, the recovery will be better. What they do is, if this movement intention is again a signal, right? Signal sent by the brain. Actually, they will capture this movement intention as an EEG signal. And then EEG is from brain. You take it from the skulls. Okay. So this movement intentions are taken up from the EEG signals, and they are given as a feedback to the robot. So when such add-on is given, the recovery is much better. But yes, EEG is very cumbersome. You have to place many electrodes around your head, and it's not very compact and all. You cannot use it everywhere. You have to go to a clinic and use. The earlier research was that even with the stroke patients who doesn't have a residual movement, they found that who don't have the movement, when there is some amount in the signal that could be detected from the hand or the part. So for patients, they were able to detect some amount of EMG. So if these EMG can be used as a feedback, then you can use it anywhere. Like it will be a very robust and compact device. The EMG that you have to that you capture from the stroke patient will be very noisy, will be very low, will be very small amplitude. So it's very difficult to detect the EMG signal. So my work is based on that, to find out different algorithms for detecting that EMG to improve on that. So my work is basically on that.
So to detect that signals and all, what type of equipment or apparatus you are going to use?
See, so EMG acquisition happens basically using electrodes. There are there are two types of electrodes. Surface electrodes are there, needle electrodes are there. Surface electrode is something which you place on your palm, simply like a strip or a small button like that. But it will be it's a broader area, right? You will be capturing a signal. It will not be a specific signal. But a needle electrode will be penetrated in.
Yeah.
So you'll get a proper curve. But again, if you go for needle electrode, you have to do it with a clinician. You have to go to a hospital. So I will be using a surface electrode only. So that's the challenge, how effectively I'm able to filter out the exact signal.
Coming to this final question, any advice for upcoming students?
I won't say advice, it's my experience I would share. Like whenever you have desire, that somewhere or other, even if you go in some other parts, you will eventually reach your desire. If you keep holding it on, like if you keep that desire forever, somehow, if, for example, I never thought I will come back to my passion of, my stream of medicine. Yeah. So even if you take other paths, eventually go to whatever you desire. That is one thing I want to say. And failure, it's not just a proverb, okay? Usually failures are actually learning. Only failure you will realize who you are.
Yeah, I can sense you have done like a lot of interviews, then finally you have achieved what you want for.
Yeah. I wanted to tell something about. Yeah, you asked about the fees or something, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to say that you get your 31,000 stipend, that is for sure. But apart from that, I think it will be there in all other central institutes. You have HRA. You'll be 24% of your stipend. If you want to stay outside, you can get it.
Exactly.
And IIT Madras, there is also several exchange programs and joint degrees. Like after joining PhD, they will have a session in which they will be explaining if you want to do some part of your research in some foreign countries, which they have contacts, they will also help you to do that. You can do a joint degree in some other institute. Like in my lab itself, one of my seniors is working in NUS, Singapore, for 2 years for now. So then joint degrees with abroad countries are also there. And there are, of course, different types of scholarships, like the Institute Merit Scholarship, and you can even get other perks, I think, from lab. Even you can buy devices also based on, there are some scholarships like that. About this PMRF, right? I actually saw your video. Even after joining PhD, right? You can do, there are 2 entries in PMRF. Direct and lateral entry. So this direct entry also you can apply after joining PhD. So I applied direct entry before. Immediately after joining, it was in September. I joined in September.
I know this.
Yeah, so immediately joining also you can apply the direct.
You need to have good CG from central. If you are from Central University and you have CG above 8.5.
Gate score.
Yeah.
Or you should have a gate score above 650, I think.
Okay.
If you apply, you need not have any research proposal and all. If your is enough.
Okay.
But for lateral entry, you will should have a research proposal, SOPs, and 4 course credits.
Yeah. Basically, there are two categories how we can apply for this PMRF. One is before coming only, if you have very good gate score, you can apply for PMRF in the initial stage only. And the second is that if you are coming from centrally funded universities and you have very good CG above 8.5, you can apply for PMRF. And the other
Yeah.
thing is what you said now, this lateral entry, that is after coming there and you don't qualify in these two categories, then you can apply for like after taking 4 courses, then having very good research proposal and all, you can apply for that also.
Yeah. So the direct entry is immediately after you join, you should apply.
Yes.
Lateral is for 1 semester. So the process I've heard now is like every 6 months you'll have a review, and every 1 year you will be asked like what work you have done. If there is not satisfactory work done, anytime they can revert back.
Yeah.
So it is also there, and you're supposed to do a teaching also. 4 hours per month in some outside college, you have to do a teaching.
Yeah.
These things. With more money, more work. So it's your choice of what you want to do.
Yeah.
In a way, it's good also. Like you'll have otherwise it will be you should only, one thing is about PhD is how you take it, right?
Yeah.
So we have to plan it accordingly. If something is there 6 months once you'll be reviewed, means your work will also be faster.